Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 Marvel vs. Capcom fighters no one wants on their team.
I'm coming, princess!
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Servbot, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. It is important to note that Servbot is a joke character. We know his presence isn't meant for winning tournaments or wiping the floor with your friends. Still, that doesn't make him a suitable choice for MVC2. Whereas most of the roster can deal decent damage with an average combo, you can land several hits with Servbot only to dish out very little damage. The only notable benefit he brings is that his hyper combos can deal slightly more damage if your opponent is blocking. And even then, it isn't a big difference versus if they weren't blocking.
Man, I almost had a heart attack there.
Hsien-Ko, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Level 2!
Even the weakest fighters of UMVC3 have some redeeming qualities in their own awkward ways. Hsien-Ko, on the other hand, is so awful that it's hard figuring out why anyone would have her on their team. Don't get us wrong, we love this Darkstalkers heroine as much as we love Morrigan and Felicia. Unfortunately, Hsien-Ko is so unreasonably slow that it makes the heavy hitters look like MVC2 Magneto. On top of that, her hyper combos are easy to avoid and they don't inflict much damage. We were happy to see another Darkstalkers rep on the roster, but if this is the fate Hsien-Ko is forced to live, we'd rather she be left out.
You win!
That's a win for me!
Ghost Rider, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Between us, no sinner can escape.
Ghost Rider may have been one of UMVC3's lower tier characters, but somehow Infinite made him even worse. Whereas Ghost Rider could employ some nonsense in stringing combos and taking up the whole screen, Infinite took whatever little fun he had going on and nerfed him into oblivion. He moves slower, he has lesser moves in his kit, and he has a worse version of his level 3 hyper combo that takes all of the cool factor away from him. This is supposed to be one of the baddest dudes in the Marvel universe. Why would you make Ghost Rider such a lame character? Ugh, I need a jelly bean martini after having to relive this nightmare. Dan, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. It really shouldn't be surprising to see Dan make it on this list. This show-off has often been regarded as one of Street Fighter's worst characters across every installment. We get it though, he's a joke character, just like Servbot. Even so, there's just no reason to have Dan on your team unless you're intentionally trying to make MVC2 harder. You want awful mobility? You want to take way more damage than any other character on the roster? You want access to a poor excuse of a Hadouken? Then by all means, choose Dan. We just hope you're playing for giggles and not for money. Orange Hulk, Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of Superheroes. A more powerful version of the Hulk? Ideally, we would jump on that opportunity without hesitation, especially knowing how strong Hyper Venom and Gold War Machine are in Clash of Superheroes. But Orange Hulk? Well, Orange Hulk is actually a more horrendous version of the regular Hulk. While he does hit harder and faster like Hyper Venom, he takes way more damage and has a worse recovery time when using moves that are essential in using normal Hulk effectively. And just when you think playing this living, fragile bottle of Fanta couldn't be any more miserable, you quickly figure out that he has no armor whatsoever. You're basically playing a dismantled iteration of the Big Green Machine, and it's just not worth it. A Mingo, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. We have nothing against a Mingo at all. Nothing! He's great! We love him! If anything, we love him just as much as we adore Ruby Heart. Problem is that for a heavy-hitting healer, a Mingo feels completely useless. Yes, he can put some pressure on foes when they're stuck in a corner, but even so, his moves are so awkward that they make it hard for a Mingo to string attacks together. His size already makes every situation worse for him, and his awful mobility leaves him little room to try and escape combos. Look, the Cactus Kids can be a funny way to be annoying and bring some goofiness to the fight, but if you're playing to win, a Mingo just isn't gonna be much help. Ryu. One would hope the main man of Street Fighter would at least be among the above average or at least average fighters across the franchise. On the contrary, he is among the weakest. He is nowhere near as weak as Dan, thankfully. However, his lack of range makes him a way tougher character to play with. Your only means of defense is to either get up in your rival's business or just spam Hadoukens like one would in a regular Street Fighter game. Sure, Ryu also comes with Shin Shoryuken and the Hurricane Kick, but every hyper combo he has is super easy to read and super easy to avoid. You're just better off picking Chun-Li or even Cammy, and they aren't much higher on the tier list either. Nemesis T-Type, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
These guys don't give up!
Look, it is very possible to play a strong game with Nemesis. He's got enough moves in his kit to provide good zoning, good anti-air, and still inflict a good amount of damage. But if you're somebody who wants to deny your opponent from playing the game and end them quickly, Nemesis is not your answer. His base damage is solid, but scaling damage in combos is a joke. And of course, his size is an issue as he becomes a big target for his opponent, meaning one careless mistake can leave you open for a touch of death combo. Nemesis is very much a play at your own risk character, and it's a risk that we just would rather not take. Arthur, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Or die. Fight!
Playing as Arthur just tells your opponent you're asking for trouble and you won't put up much of a fight. For as much as we can appreciate Ghosts and Goblins, we cannot bring ourselves to play as Arthur even for laughs. His short stature works against him in the worst ways possible, from the lack of proper range to his slow movement. As for his gold armor install, using this is more likely to work against you as it leaves Arthur open to get comboed. And since he'll be left in his boxers, he'll take substantially more damage than he would with his regular armor on. In all honesty, Arthur is interesting from a design standpoint, but in play and execution, you just don't go online with this guy. Like, at all. Roll. Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes.
Ready. Fight!
When a character is widely labeled to be in their own tier, you know something is wrong. Roll is such an abysmal fighter that she is always put into her own tier just to show how low on the totem pole she is. Imagine playing as Mega Man, except all of your most useful moves are thrown out and your hyper combos have been nerfed to hell. That is what it is like playing as Roll. She is nothing more than a worse version of the Blue Bomber. It doesn't help that trying to trigger her hyper combos leaves her open for so long that your opponent can punch her out of it. We'd be speechless if anyone actually manages to win a tournament with Roll on their team, even more if someone wins with a team of 3 Rolls. Think you can play as any of these characters well enough to win a tournament? What's a character you struggle playing with the most in Marvel vs. Capcom? Let us know down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.